Hello and welcome to Wordplay Wednesday, where we look at words from the story from the previous Saturday Stories episode. So, this episode of Wordplay Wednesday, we have words from Oscar Wilde's story, The Selfish Giant. If you haven't had a chance to read the story already, I invite you actually to go and listen to it on Saturday Stories. And there's links there. You can sign up to get a close reading guide where you can get the whole story. So you can read it for yourself. You can listen while you read. And today we're going to be looking at 3 words from this story, how Oscar Wilde uses those words and how we can use them in our own writing and speaking. So let's get right in. The first word we are going to have a look at is delicate. And it seems like our screen sharing is being interesting again. I'm going to stop sharing and reshare so you can see the words on the screen. Delicate, easily broken or damaged. So this word can be used a couple of different ways in Oscar Wilde's story, The Selfish Giant. When he uses the word delicate, it means easily broken or damaged. Let's see how he uses it in the story. It was a large, lovely garden with soft green grass. Here and there over the grass stood beautiful flowers like stars. And there were 12 peach trees that in the springtime broke out into delicate blossoms of pink and pearl, and in the autumn bore rich fruit. So we can see here in this passage how he uses the word delicate. We have these delicate blossoms. I don't know where it is that you live, but generally around this time of year and in the next month or so, we're going to be having plants coming up, flowers coming up, and some of them have very delicate blossoms that are easily broken or damaged. Things that we need to be careful with. How can we use this word in our daily life? The cup is very delicate. Please handle it carefully. Something is delicate. Perhaps it also means something like fragile. We don't want to break it. So we have this word delicate. Let's see what else we have. How about rattled? Rattled. And in this word, to cause something to move or shake and make a series of noises. Perhaps you have an infant, perhaps you have had an infant, been around an infant, and they have a rattle and they're shaking something and it's making a noise. Sometimes it's enough to make you go crazy. But if somebody is, you could also say somebody is rattled, meaning they're kind of frazzled. But in this case, we are using it as causing something to move or shake or make a series of noises. Let me just see what else I can. All right. Let's see what else we have. For some reason, it is not showing well on the screen. So let's reshare and go from there. Let's see if that's helpful. All right, let's see how Oscar Wilde uses this in his story. So the hail came. If you've read the story, you know that this giant, he was away, and while he was away, the children came to play in his garden. And then he came home and he was angry and he chased them out of his garden, and the children had no place to play. And he was thinking, this is my garden and I don't want any children in here. And so winter stayed in his garden. Spring did not come. In fact, all of the different kinds of weather came except for sunshine. So the hail came every day for 3 hours. He rattled on the roof of the castle till he broke most of the slates. And then he ran round and round the garden as fast as he could go. He was dressed in gray and his breath was like ice. So he has personified hail, made hail as if it were a person. That's why it says here, every day for 3 hours, he rattled, referring to the hail. And if you've ever heard hail on a roof when it's a storm, you can imagine what it sounds like. You can imagine the force of that hail as it's rattling on the roof of the castle till it breaks all the slate, all of the shingles off the roof. And then imagine the damage it's doing to the garden. So by using this word rattled, he's helping us paint that picture in our mind so we know, we can picture it, we know what's going on, and we can visualize it in our mind. If we were to use this word ourselves, we could say, she rattled the coins in the jar. Or in our case, maybe you have a cat as well, and you rattle the can with the food and the cat comes. So we can use this word rattled. The third word we're going to look at is bitterly. Felt or experienced in a strong and unpleasant way. Bitterly. It was the farthest corner of the garden, and in it was standing a little boy. So this is near the end of the story when there's a change that's coming. He was so small that he could not reach up to the branches of the tree, and he was wandering all around it, crying bitterly. The poor tree was still quite covered with frost and snow, and the north wind was blowing and roaring above it. Here again, we have word matching. It's super important when we're choosing vocabulary words to use in our own writing that the words match the rest of what's going on in the scene. Whether it's a story or whether you're doing an essay, the words need to match whatever else is going on around it. So here we have crying bitterly. And if we go back to our meaning, felt or experienced in a strong and unpleasant way. So when we think of this boy, he's crying bitterly. He's got this strong feeling, strong and unpleasant feeling. He's not feeling very good. And everything around it points to that as well. So we have the tree, it's covered with frost and snow. We have the north wind blowing, so that's cold. And it's roaring above. So we have this whole scene, and we can picture this lone boy crying bitterly in the corner of the garden. So Oscar Wilde paints this picture in our mind so that in the next scene, we can have a contrast. So it's interesting how a single word, if he left that word out and he was wandering all around it crying, we could just think, oh, he's just crying because he's sad. No, this is more than sad. In our daily life, we could say, we were bitterly disappointed. And again, felt or experienced in this strong and unpleasant way. So this isn't just, well, we were kind of disappointed. we were bitterly disappointed. Like we felt strongly about this. Or he complained bitterly about the crowds. Like, why are all these people here? I'm going to start complaining bitterly. This isn't just, well, I wish these people weren't here. Bitterly has a deeper context, a stronger context, where something is very unpleasant. So there we have it. 3 words. Let's just do a quick recap. So we have delicate, this easily broken or damaged, rattled, causing something to move or shake and make a series of noises. And finally, bitterly, felt or experienced in a strong and unpleasant way. I would like to invite you to continue exploring this story, but in another way. So here we've explored some of the vocabulary. On Thursday, we will be taking the story and condensing it into a 7-sentence version of the story. This will help us figure out how to write a story arc and also how to write something from the planning stage to the revision stage. So I invite you to join me there. I will put the link in the chat below. Sign up for that. Hope to see you there. Thanks for joining me today.